Today, we are joined by Jacob Torville from Vice President of Young Americans for Liberty. For those of you who don't know, Jacob has played a pivotal role in various capacities nationwide over the years, within YOW and other political action committees driving forward the movement's mission. He's a staunch advocate for the restoration of true capitalism in the United States, and he's also been a staunch advocate for economic reform, particularly in the abolition of the Federal Reserve. We're pleased to welcome him to the stage for his session, Empowering Individuals with Grassroots Organization and Activism. Let's do a round of applause.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. Just to get started, again, my name is Jacob Torville. I'm currently the Vice President of Campus for Young Americans for Liberty. Who here has heard of Young Americans for Liberty before? Okay, awesome. So we are a United States-based organization, and we have hundreds of college chapters across the country. We work with activists to spread the message of liberty generally and to educate their peers as well as take political action in those states so that they can create real change, whether that be at their universities to overturning pepper spray bans or in their local communities by getting involved directly with legislation or starting a charity or something of the sort. Over the last 5 years, we've introduced well over 400,000 students to the ideas of liberty by direct advocacy on campus. I'm giving this presentation today, Empowering Individuals Through Grassroots Organization and Activism, because especially whenever I work with young activists, I notice one big thing, and that's that everybody has a tendency to misunderstand the true power that they can have whenever it comes to grassroots and political organizing. As far as being here at Galt's Gulch today, I'll say Ayn Rand, as an aside, was a very big and pivotal figure for me in my early political development. I'll never forget, I picked up not Atlas Shrugged, but The Fountainhead whenever I was a freshman in high school, read that through and through, and it definitely helped to give me a strong philosophical foundation for being an advocate for individualism and objectivism broadly. So, I want to go ahead and start with this concept of associations. I know, obviously, as objectivists, we want to ensure that we're not falling into tribalistic ways of thinking, but I think that it's important to note how people can work together. So, I would like to start with this quote. Just as a proper society is ruled by laws, not by men, so a proper association is united by ideas, not by men, and its members are loyal to the ideas, not to the group. It is eminently reasonable that men should seek to associate with those who share their convictions and values. I think that this can give us a good foundation for how we should work together as individuals to further our general philosophy. Objectivism, individualism, and the ideas of liberty are more important now than ever, especially as we're stepping into a world with these new tech controls that can stifle liberty so quickly. It is pivotal that we take action in order to support our ideas. And in order to have maximum effect there, we should gather with the other people who share our ideas, share our identities, associate with them, and work together in order to create progress. So, our goal here is to build the liberty movement, broadly and openly. We want to build a society that allows the individual to pursue his goals without restriction. We must work together to build a better society, and there's two main ways that we can do that. Number one, through education and identification. We can create groups that are united together by the ideas of liberty, individualism, objectivism. And through these groups and through this mutual education, we can create these associations that can take this real action and make change in a society by working together. And then, of course, the actual grassroots action aspect, going out into your community in order to create real change. This is pivotal, and it's oftentimes what people forget. So we'll be focusing a lot on this topic towards the end part of our discussion. This is, in my opinion, clearly in line with our objectivist framework. We are associating to work together with the common goal of building a better society, of building a better movement that respects individuality and people's own experiences, goals, and trending towards creating that radical change. So, for a brief overview, we are going to talk a little bit about building a chapter, a group that is going to advocate for liberty broadly. We're going to talk about creating a vision for that group and how you can work to take real grassroots action. I want to start with what a chapter is. In my role at Young Americans for Liberty, I work with college chapters all across the country. And this isn't just slated for people in university. I want to open this up and we're going to make it more broad. A chapter is a group of people who work together to accomplish a common goal. You can name it anything you'd like. You can call it a group, you can call it a chapter, but for our purposes today, I will be calling it a chapter. There are some big goals that you can have within these groups. Every group is going to have a different goal, a different vision, and something that they're going to want to accomplish. That can be educating new activists, pulling more people in, teaching people about our ideas and why they're so valuable, and why we have to be advocates for liberty and individualism, and how we can pursue greatness through our hard work. Making a change in their local community. This is a lot of what I do with Young Americans for Liberty. Oftentimes there are pepper spray bans on college campuses, dictating that college students are not allowed to carry personal self-protection devices. We go in and we work with individuals and students, activists in these communities to overturn those policies. And we've done it 213 times. By giving students the tools, education, and resources, we directly empower them to make those changes in their community so that they can have self-protection. And then, of course, working towards a big common goal. And this can exist in many ways. I want to give one goal here from Texas that happened just a few weeks ago. Some of our activists in Texas got wind that Texas was trying to pass an anti-free speech bill through the Texas State House. This bill would have no longer defined college campuses as a public forum. What that means is that you cannot go onto college campus and speak freely. It's not defined as a public space where your First Amendment rights, if you're in the United States or US based, are protected. Your right to free speech doesn't exist. So our activists got together, they went to the legislature by the dozens, they talked to all of the legislators, they advocated for their policy, worked with other outside organizations like FIRE, that's the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, and they were able to water down this bill so that free speech rights in Texas are at least protected, so that people can go and assemble on a college campus without fear of repercussion. Those are the sorts of things that these chapters, and whenever we work together in an association, that we can accomplish. We can ensure free speech rights for thousands of students. We can ensure the right to self-protection for thousands of students, and we can allow people to move forward with their own goals and their own vision. Why are chapters important? Because we can make a monumental amount of change with just a small group of well-trained and effective activists. Our potential activists are out there. There are a lot of people that agree with us. They just need to hear about our ideas and come to understand them. They need to have a reason to care and a real outline for what their philosophy looks like. They need to have hope and a real solution, the tools to execute on that solution, and then they need to have an obligation to act, something that pushes them to take that final step and to take an action towards making real change on their campus or in their community, wherever that may be. Chapters are important because they get people in the door. They allow us to introduce people to our ideas. They're important because it allows us to work and develop members and leaders over time. In my role as vice president of campus, not only am I identifying thousands of people who share our values, but I'm also working to educate them and to train them on things like public speaking, on door knocking, on cold calling, on hosting community events, on running programs within the legislature. These are things that through a chapter infrastructure, through a mutual association of people, you can work to build, and that can create real long-term change. Chapters provide a schedule for involvement so that people are organized and taking real action. They educate the general public, and they can act as a pressure point on the political system if that is the avenue that you wish to pursue change. This right here is an example of one of our chapters from South Dakota. These right here are all students who believe in the ideas of liberty, and they are out marching and advocating for campus carry, the right to carry a gun on their college campuses. You can see they're well organized, and they're going to make a substantial impact. Here is them with over 1,000 petition signatures at this very small school in South Dakota, filling the lobby and presenting those petition signatures to the dean. What this does is it creates an enormous amount of pressure on them to allow for campus carry on that campus. And while this fight did take several years, just earlier this year, we did get a soft form of campus carry in South Dakota, primarily because of the work of years of activists who organized, built these chapters, had a vision for change, and then went out there and made it actually happen. So let's talk a little bit about the path to success for a chapter, for a group, or for building a new grassroots organization. We have our 4-step model, which we use here at YAL, and it's to identify, educate, train, and mobilize activists to make liberty win, in that order. And we will go ahead and we'll start with this idea of identifying. We need to recruit other individuals who think like us so that we can work together in order to make some sort of change in our community. How do we go about doing that? Well, there are a few ways. Number one, if you are on a college campus or if you're in a place that is largely communal in the way that it operates and where people live and work in short order, then you can go out and you can put out a table. You can have some of your ideas on those tables, like support gun rights, or support free speech, or support free market capitalism. And you can talk to everybody that walks by your table and try to invite them to a meeting for your organization or for your group. That's a great way to find new people, and even if they're not involved, they might be interested in taking action. If you have some sort of political end goal, if your group was political and you did have a political end goal, you could petition on an issue. See who agrees with you, and if they agree with you on an issue, that might mean that they are interested in getting more involved and making some sort of change. There are a number of different ways where we can pull new people into our organizations and where we can work together in order to accomplish our common goal. But we have to get out there and we have to get recruiting, because the people that we are going to work with will allow us to, through combining our mutual power, accomplish a big goal. Education, of course, is a critical component that oftentimes can be missed and can be not done well. What we have to do through education is reinforce the philosophy. I'm sorry, guys, but the general population doesn't really know what liberty is, not what it really is. They can use the idea, but they don't really know what liberty is. They don't really know what objectivism is. They probably don't know who Ayn Rand is. So we have to go out and we have to be able to teach them these things. We can be conveyors of these larger ideas that have been motivators for us. And by advocating publicly for these ideas, talking to other people about them, we can encourage them to move in the same direction as us, and we can work together on accomplishing those mutual goals. It's our job to educate and to show solutions to our problems. If we do have a political issue that we want to accomplish, how should that political issue be accomplished? In my intro, the gentleman said that my goal is to tear down the Federal Reserve. That's our central bank. By tearing down our central bank, that would cause just en masse, a hard economic times. It wouldn't, without any sort of outcome or solution other than tearing it down, it would have a bad effect. So it would be my goal to show the solution, how free banking systems can work, how free market capitalism can work, so that we can then be better advocates for the abolition of the Federal Reserve. And we'll have to explain how to pass the policy or how to take action or how to accomplish the goals that we want. These don't have to be political in nature. Whenever I was with my own YAL organization back at Truman State, whenever I was in college, one of our big goals for the semester was creating a charity event to help the community. This was in the midst of COVID-19, whenever everybody was shut down. So we went through and we trained all of our members on how they could make pitches and ask for money to help out our local food bank, which was really struggling at the time. Through educating our local members, within a period of a day, we were able to fundraise more than $1,500 for our local food bank and help people out. So the goals don't have to be political, but we do have to work on educating people in order to accomplish the task and the goals that we want to accomplish. Training and mobilizing. With training, we need to teach people how to recruit, teach people how to apply political pressure, and teach people how to accomplish their goals. Again, this can go any which way, but there is a policy side in which you can educate, and then there is a training side where you can show how to do real things. At Young Americans for Liberty, we have this program called Operation One at the Door. Through this program, what we do is we mobilize thousands of students to go out and knock doors to talk about political issues. Whenever we do this, whenever this happens, we will train students on how to go to the doors. Knock, 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 3 knocks. Here's what you say as your introduction. Hi, my name is X. It's so great to meet you. Today we're out here talking about this issue. How do you feel about this? And we'll teach them how to have the conversations at the door, how to not feel weird about it, and how to hopefully change minds and create political pressure on that basis. And just accomplishing their goals generally. This can be cold calling again, this can be any sort of process or system or skill that you have to teach. And you need to ensure that you get that out of the way with training. And then finally, mobilization. This is where we ask people to recruit, ask people to take that next action, apply political pressure, and actually start to make some change, and accomplish whatever task we need to accomplish our general vision. So let's talk a little bit about creating a chapter vision and what a chapter should look like. A chapter or a group that we'd be building here is a place where activists can make like-minded friends, people where they can create a true community so that they can work together moving forward, where they can learn skills and where they can create real change. The goal of this chapter is to get new people involved. This chapter will meet maybe every week. Some chapters or groups will meet bi-weekly, some meet monthly, but they all meet regularly and they all have real calls to action. The vision here is in educating and training our new activists, teaching them how to accomplish their goals and giving them a template and practice that can lead to the real world success. Again, that can be something like cold calling, that can be fundraising, that can be political involvement and pressure. Any of those things can be good ways to accomplish those long-term goals. And it also needs to satisfy people's desire for friendship and progress towards change. If we can help people to create a pathway by which they can create real change, we will be incredibly successful in the long run. We also want to ensure that our meetings are structured. We have an officer meeting, we have a chapter meeting, and within our group, we have subgroups in order to accomplish our goals. The event is another critical aspect. There needs to be something done every month, every week, whatever your kind of time framework is, that will fulfill the desire to fight for change, learn a new skill, and or make friends. You need to be able to do a number of different things to be able to get new people involved and to encourage them and teach them how to get out and make real change. If your goal with creating a group or a chapter is simply to have fun, that's awesome, but they might not understand the political and grassroots organization side of things. If you're looking to create a chapter to create grassroots change, to create a movement, to educate new people, you are going to need to have a real vision and a big goal, something to accomplish. Whenever you're creating your vision, you should start with a series of questions. Ask yourself things like, what issues do you want to focus on? Do other people care about this? If other people care about this, it's more likely that you're going to be able to work together towards your common goal. How much do people care about it? People care about it a little bit or a lot. Is there a policy solution for our problem? If there is, then we can coalesce and build our association around solving that issue. If there's not, we're going to have substantially more trouble. When will you devote your time? And how much time will you devote? Will you be setting up leadership meetings of the first initial people who wish to take real hardcore action and run that chapter or organization with you? Will you have regular leadership meetings? Will you have regular chapter meetings? If so, how frequently? If you're on a college campus, every week works great. But if you're an adult with a full-time job, once a month is just enough. So, who is your audience? How often are you going to be meeting? And then recruitment days and general activism. How often are you going to be doing this? How often are you going to be pulling new people into your organization? And then finally, what is the end goal of your chapter? Is it to change a policy on a college campus, like those pepper spray bans, or like fighting for free speech? Is it going to be to pass a bill? Is it going to be something else, like creating money for charity, helping students engage with their entrepreneurial pursuits. It can be a wide variety of things, but you need to decide on what the goal and the vision of your chapter is and what everybody will be working together and moving towards. But you do want to give people a fight. Without a fight, people are going to find other things to do with their time. So give them a real reason to be engaged for the long run. And work on creating an organization that's special. You have to define yourself and differentiate yourself in the marketplace, especially today. When building groups, grassroots organizations, these chapters, we need to address the issues that no one else will. Talk about the things that other people are unwilling to talk to, and pursue an actual solution to those issues. If you can do that, you will build out a real area in the marketplace by which people will come into your club and organization, and you can work towards those goals. And you want to create the most powerful activist group in your community, broadly. You want to, especially if you want to engage in politics or political engagement or community engagement, you want to create a group that is the largest, most powerful there. Because with a large number of people, especially if they're working hard, well-educated, and well-trained, you can take over a community and make changes that you would have never believed. So let's talk about hosting a meeting. Let's say that we've went out and we've recruited. We've identified other people who share our goals and who would be interested in kind of pursuing this shared vision of building something great, of changing the country, of changing the community, of changing our college campus, whatever we'd like to do. But let's say that we've done that. We've recruited some people, and now it's time to host our meeting. How do we go about doing that? Well, first we need to think about the actions up to the meeting. First, the executive board should have met and planned out the week. If you are going to have an executive board or a leadership team for your group, they need to meet up and plan everything well in advance. New signups for the organization, if you have those, if you're doing Activism Weekly or Recruitment Weekly, need to be called and invited to the event. Over at Young Americans for Liberty, we're constantly inviting hundreds of students to our event, and we will call every single person of the, we'll call thousands and thousands of signups, text thousands, hundreds of thousands of signups to try to encourage people to come to our events and to get involved and take those next real actions so that we can work together to make Liberty win. Lapsing members have been called through and brought back in. A reminder text can be sent out. If you're creating this group within your community, send out a reminder text in the morning. Hey, we have our meeting tonight at 6 p.m. at, X Road or the Downright Hotel in Austin. Whatever you'd like to say. Will you be there is an excellent way to end your message. If you want to encourage engagement of people within a community, end your text with the question, will you be there, after giving the instructions? Because it elicits a direct yes or no response. And it can demand that people actually respond to your questions. All food, merch, discussion materials, make sure that those have been brought and are available well ahead of time. Key tip for a meeting, especially if you're young and you're working with college students or people that are college aged, it is so important to have food or merch or handouts or some other form of discussion material, because that's why people show up. Half the time, people might like your ideas a little bit. They'll say like, hey, that person said capitalism was cool. I also like capitalism, so I might show up. And then the moment you break out, and we're gonna have free pizza, then they're sold. That's the selling point. So make sure to get food, merch, discussion material, have that prepped up and ready to go prior to your meeting. And then make sure that your meeting starts on time. Over at YAL, we say politics runs on time. Never be late, always start at the time that you need to start. If this session is to start at 1:45, we want to start at 1:45 because we want to be professional and we want our group to be professional and pursue accomplishing our vision and goal. And starting on time is necessary for that. In the actual hosting of your meeting, this is a little bit about what your structure can look like. I won't tell you exactly what your structure can be because different chapters, different groups, and organizations are going to do it different ways, especially based upon their membership style, how many members they have, etc. But generally, to start, you need to have a sign-in, something to demonstrate and show who has been there and who was there and who was in those conversations. Have a sign-in so that you can keep strong records. You generally want to have an icebreaker or some form of social event for immediately afterwards. You want to encourage people to interact with each other and build a larger community of people that can share those ideas. Building that community is a crucial part. You want to go over your last week or your last month report and exactly what has been done. What did you guys discuss at that last meeting? What sort of action did you take in the meantime? Where are you on the progress to reaching your goals? This week, what is the plan? What are we going to do to accomplish our goal? If I want to get campus carry passed in South Dakota, like we were talking about, what are the actionable steps that we are going to take in order to get there? Are we going to identify more people who support campus carry? Are we going to all get together and call our state representatives in order to tell them to vote for this bill or to advocate for this issue? Are we going to go out and door knock somebody's district? How can we cause political pain for another person or political action so that we can reach our end goal and vision? After that, you'll be focusing on group discussion and education. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? What is objectivism? What is the Federal Reserve? What is central banking? Whatever you'd like. But you're going to be focusing that portion of the meeting on group discussion and education, because that'll help to build that community and ensure that ideological consistency and that everybody is working towards the same goal. And then finally, adjournment. Getting out of there, or even better, afterwards going to a social event, doing something together, and participating in some sort of action together. Let's talk a little bit about recruitment in a little bit more detail, socials, and then finally, that activism. This is what a recruitment table can look like. I know everybody has seen them out there in those halls, but this is what one would look like on college campus for one of the groups that I'm working with, or one of the groups that I'm trying to create. As you can see, we have stickers, we have pocket constitutions, we have pins. You can't quite see it as well, but over there we have a bunch of different buttons with political sayings on them, political issues and issue advocacy on them. And then we have our sign-up sheets, and then people actively interacting with other students, trying to get them to sign up so that they can learn more about the ideas, get involved in the liberty movement, and take that real next step. This is what a great table looks like. They have lots of swag to hand out, and they're actively interacting with people. So whenever you go to recruit, especially depending upon kind of the framework of your group and what you want to accomplish, you want to select the most relevant and pressing issues and find the people that might share your philosophy. Whatever change you're trying to create, take the most radical, kind of interesting, out there part and go talk to people about that in public. If you can do that, you will definitely find people who might share your philosophy and who might be willing to work with you towards that shared goal. Make sure that you do not do too little recruitment. If you do too little recruitment, your chapter dwindles and dissolves, and you lose the ability to work together through that association to accomplish those goals and add your power together and create some sort of big accomplishment. This right here is another one of our chapters. I believe this is in California, and they're having a social. So a social is something that you can do to increase the community aspect of your organization. This can be positive because it can be used as an educational opportunity, a training opportunity, an opportunity to further mobilize, learn more about the philosophy or what we want to do. These can be done in several different ways, but I would suggest all organizations, whether they're collegiate or whether they're for adults, should do. You can have grill outs, you can have range days, you can have poker nights. The goal should be, with these socials, to have fun, to make friends, and to generally strengthen that community. If you can do that, you can create a group of activists who really care, are pushing towards that goal, and are ready to go. If you do too little of socials, if you're too vision-oriented, too goal-oriented, and you don't remember that there should be time to have fun, especially for your general membership, you can risk people burning out. The stress of political activity can definitely outweigh the personal benefits of being involved, especially if people aren't well educated enough. So we need to ensure that people are educated. That'll reduce burnout. But we also want to ensure that we can create atmospheres, communities for people to talk, engage with each other, and have fun. And that will improve the long-term outcomes of our group. People being involved, people working together. If you do too much of this, your chapter becomes a social club. and you make no progress towards political change or what other sort of change you want to make in that community. You need to be actively working towards that goal and that vision. That is the reason that you have created the group, to accomplish something great. Make sure that you stay on task with that assignment and do not allow yourself to fall into the trap of something becoming sheerly a social organization. A lot of political organizations do this, a lot of political groups do this, a lot of organizations in general do this, and they become ineffective, slow, and not able to accomplish anything real. And then finally, let's talk a little bit about activism. Activism is the way by which we can actually go about making change in our communities, whether that be on the campuses, at the city council level, at the state level, at the federal level, wherever we want to make those large changes. And there are several different ways that we can do this and several different ways that we can encourage our members to go out there and make change. Let's say we want to cut taxes. We want to abolish the income tax, which would be a great pursuit. How could we do that? Well, number one, we could give public testimony. Show up when congresspeople, legislators, whoever has to vote. Give public testimony, brigade them. If we have 10, 15 people that show up to one of these sessions, we can completely control what the inside of that room looks like, what the politician or what the person is hearing. We can help to educate them on why we need to move away from taxation and towards this individual liberty, and hopefully do that. Let's say the politician isn't going to respond to our, personal cry for help. Well, we wouldn't expect them to. They're politicians, and they don't really respond well to taking stances on controversial issues. But we can go out and we can door knock, and we can talk to voters, people's constituents who might agree. If we go out with our group and we door knock and we talk to 1,000 people who agree with our initiative to abolish the income tax, then there's a real chance that if those voters call that legislature, that this bill will pass, and that we'll be able to make, or at least that their vote will change, and then we'll be able to make that substantial change. Public displays to decision makers, holding rallies, hosting events, gaining media, blowing your ideas up, getting them out into the open, getting people to understand what radical capitalism looks like. Those can all be great ways to be a public advocate for your issue. But the goal is to apply the necessary pressure to get the policy change that we want, and to continue to elevate that pressure over and over and over until we can get our group, our organization, and our association of people together and truly accomplishing that big goal. If you do too little activism, just as with socials, if you do too little activism, your members will leave because you have failed to follow through on the vision that you have sold. They can find friendship and personal development out elsewhere, and your vision for whatever you want to accomplish is dead. So make sure you do not do too little activism, because people really do want to accomplish big things. People want to accomplish great things, and they want to be part of things that are great. So make sure that you continue to do that activism. If you do too much activism, you can burn out some of your less fanatical members, some of the members that aren't as well educated on the issues as you. And you could lose out on those that you could have instead empowered to take real action and to accomplish something that they believe in. So you got to find the Goldilocks zone. You have to do enough recruitment to capture your audience, to find the people who agree with you and can work with you towards those goals. You have to do enough socials to keep morale up, but not so much that you become a social club. And you have to do activism to fulfill your promise of creating change, whatever that may be. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're not currently in a political group, if you don't currently have any form of grassroots organization, you should go out there and start one. I could run you through a 4-day training on grassroots political tactics that could help you make change and show you those things. I could tell you to, go out and knock doors, teach instructionals on those things, and teach you about real grassroots action. But the first thing that you need in order to be really successful at creating a grassroots campaign, at winning in politics, whether that be, abolishing taxes or fighting for capitalism, having laissez-faire economics, having basic rights to self-defense, whatever that may be, We could talk about how we can make those changes, but the first thing that we need is a large collection of people in order to work together and make that change. If we have a group of individuals who are working together towards that mutual goal, we are going to be effective. We just have to be educated, we have to be well trained, and we have to be ready to mobilize and take action. I would encourage all of you to start an organization. If you want it to be YAL, I'm going to have my contact information on the next slide. But especially if you're not in college anymore, or if you want to see some sort of change in your community, go out and create some type of grassroots organization. Start an organization, start recruiting people, get people together, get everybody working towards this mutual goal, and you would be shocked how much you can create. You should work to build something larger than yourselves and make the changes that are necessary in order to protect our ideas. Our ideas are under attack in this country and around the world. People are targeting free speech. People are targeting and destroying people's right to kind of that individual and self-empowerment nature. And so we need to move towards that and make sure that our ideas are generally protected. I have seen students do things that they could have never believed whenever they started working in politics and working with a grassroots organization. I've seen students pass campus carry. I've seen students abolish taxes like real taxes, grocery taxes, property taxes. I've seen students be the spear tip on passing the most pivotal free speech legislation in our country. I've seen students advocate against eminent domain reform and ensure that people's property can't be taken away from them. I've seen students go out and just make the changes that you couldn't believe. So what I'll encourage you to do, go out, start a chapter, start a group, start an organization, work with other people who share your goals and share that identity in order to make some real change in society. If you want to take these next steps and you do want some help from me, again, I've worked with thousands of college students over the last few years. You can contact me. My email's right here, jacob.torville@yaliberty.org. I'd love to help you build a chapter, whether it's YAL or not. If you're an adult and you want to do something else, I would love to just help you out. I have a ton of resources on this stuff, from how to recruit properly in a community to on campus to how to make how to do activism to make real change. And I can walk you through this step in this process a little bit more. Or you can, of course, sign up at yliberty.org/join, and we can help you. If you're in college, and you're in the United States, there's no reason that you shouldn't sign up, because we can make a lot of real change. With that, do I have time for questions?
Yep, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, awesome. We got a mic here in case anybody wants it, or you can just project. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. It was a very valuable workshop for me as Lola. I'm sure that you know Ladies of Liberty Alliance.
Yes.
And we have the same framework. So the heart of Lola today is actually the chapter program. So my question is, what kinds of activities do you guys promote in YAL? Because I want to have an idea so that maybe we can apply at Lola, especially within universities.
Yes.
Because nowadays, what I can see, like I'm from Lola Brazil chapter,
Mm-hmm.
so we do a great job targeting women like between 30 and 50, but we are struggling a lot to target like young women at universities, especially because they're more attracted to socialist ideas. So what kinds of activities do you promote within universities? And I have a second question, so anyone?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, I'll just say, by the way. The best way that I've found to get young women, college-age women in the United States involved between 18 and 22, it might be a little bit different in Brazil, clearly, but has been the pepper spray issue on college campuses. Believe it or not, pepper spray is banned on something like 80-90% of US campuses. I'm not sure what it's like in Brazil. But through advocating for pepper spray and just personal self-protection devices for young women, we've been able to motivate a lot of them to getting involved. Half of them don't know that pepper spray isn't allowed on their campus until either we tell them or there's been some sort of disciplinary action because of a problem on the campus. So advocating directly for, kind of women's right to defend themselves has been a great opportunity for us. Of course, we have some great signage. We have like a sign that's pink and says "Save her" with a taser for taser bans too. But advocating for those personal protection devices has been a great key for us.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, let's go with
fire someone if this person is not doing the job. So I would like any advice to improve the commitment within your group.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially whenever I'm doing my leadership trainings, the two things that I tell people are necessary in order for a successful chapter or a successful organization to work with volunteers. You need to ensure that your volunteers are passionate about the issues, which is why education is so critical and why we have to make sure that we're educating people on the issues, because education is the oxygen for the fire of passion. And then a community. They need to have friends in this organization, and they need to feel like they're part of something larger. Most people don't have the individual, I'm going to go out and I'm going to accomplish this themselves. We want to be able to teach that to them, but they oftentimes need to see other people taking action for them to go out and take action. So we have to build a community, almost like a small friend group of activists who can work together towards that common goal. But you have to have passion, which is why education is critical, and then a community, which is why things like socials can be important, group activism can be important, because it does help to kind of improve that group cohesion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Go ahead.
So I also work with Lola and also the LP. You kind of answered my question a little bit with your last answer. But I've noticed that I work with a lot of passionate people, a lot of passionate libertarians that have a lot of heart. But ever since 2020 and the lockdowns, I feel like there's less people showing up to things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've experienced that with your organizing or anybody else. And do you have any suggestions to get passionate people who want to help, who want change, to actually show up to events, whether they're socials, meetings, or activist protests?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a little bit of my opinion here is that liberty and kind of the liberty movement as we've seen it in the United States has really been stifled in recent years. People aren't as likely to identify as liberty-minded or as libertarian as they were a decade ago during the Rand Paul revolution. And so we have a much more difficult time accessing people because there's less people that have been naturally introduced to our ideas. So what I would do is shrink down your messaging if you're working with like the Libertarian Party. Shrink down your messaging and focus on a couple of issues. Focus just on guns. Focus just on free speech. Focus just on taxes. And by focusing on just those couple of issues, find people that agree with those issues, and then you can introduce them, educate them on the rest of the ideas. And that's how you can produce more good libertarians. You just might have to understand that you might have to work with some people who are MAGA Republicans or who are Democrats, depending upon the issues that you choose to talk about. Does that make sense? Awesome. Great. Everybody, that is all the time I have. So I want to thank everybody so much. I'm going to be here for the rest of the night, so if anybody does have any extra questions, come talk to me. I'd love to help you do something big, start an organization. Again, my email's up there. Do not be afraid to reach out, contact me, and I can help you out with whatever I can. Thank you, everybody, very much.
At the Atlas Society, we've set out to engage 1 billion young minds with the ideas of Ayn Rand. You can help by tapping that subscribe button, and don't forget to give this video a like below.